Welcome back, dear friends, to yet another lecture on postmodernism. In our previous lectures, we tried to describe a parody, a pastiche, simulacra, virtual reality, black humor. And in this video, we shall try to understand another concept called intertextuality. Intertextuality. Now, this is an important concept that is very much studied in the postmodern literature. Intertextuality is important for everyone who considers studying comparative literature. Anyone who studies comparative literature, intertextuality is an important concept. Before we talk about intertextuality, let us talk about the origin of this particular concept, intertextuality. The origins of intertextuality can be associated with the post-structuralist movement of the 1960s. While structuralism proposes a singular meaning underlying the text, the post-structuralism speaks of the multiplicity of meaning contained in the text. In the post-structuralist period, the literature witnessed a divorce of the text from the composer. The meaning of the text is dictated by the reader or reader's personal experience and ideas. So, it is this thought that intertextuality fits in. Texts do not have a singular meaning, there is plurality of meaning, diverse from the author, importance given to the reader. Now, what is intertextuality? Intertextuality is the shaping of a text meaning by another text. Intertextuality denotes the way in which texts gain meaning through their reference or evocation of other texts. Other texts are referenced. It is the interconnection between similar or related works of literature that reflect and influence an audience's interpretation of the text. So, other texts are referenced in one particular text. Intertextual figures include allusion, quotation or calque or plagiarism, translation, pastiche, parody. All these are intertextual devices. Intertextuality is a literary device that creates an interrelationship between texts and generates related understanding in separated works. Now, these references are made to influence the reader and the layers of depth to a text based on the reader's prior knowledge and understanding. Intertextuality is a literary discourse or a strategy utilized by writers in novels or writers of poetry, theatre, and even in non-written texts such as performances and digital media extra. It is used in all kinds of media today, intertextuality, referencing one text in another. Now, examples of intertextuality are an author's borrowing and transformation of a prior text, or a reader's referencing of one text in reading another. It can be seen so much in the New Testament passages of the Holy Bible. The New Testament quotes so much from the Old Testament. One text is referred in another text. One text is referenced in another text. And the important author to be considered when we discuss intertextuality is Julia Kristeva. It is Julia Kristeva who coined the term intertextuality. She states that meaning is not transferred directly from the writer to the reader, but meaning is mediated through and filtered by codes imparted to the writer and reader through other texts. So, importance to other texts. According to her, no text is self-born, no text is purely original, but it involves borrowing and quoting from other texts, whether intentionally or unintentionally. She also develops the term transtextuality. The text transcends itself. The meaning of the text is not bound on that text. New meanings are formed when we study the text in relation to other texts. All texts relate to one another. That is intertextuality. So, intertextuality, and there is multiplicity of meaning since texts are relational to others. Any text, she argues, is constructed of a mosaic of quotations. Any text is the absorption and transformation of another text. That is Julia Kristeva. Another author to be considered in relation to intertextuality is Roland Barthes. Roland Barthes, in his work The Death of the Author, which was published in 1965, we see an explicit reaction to structuralism. According to Barthes, the author is not the sole creator of the meaning of the text. The background and the context of the reader influence the reading of the text. There is no one way of consuming the text. A text is not a self-sufficient or hermetic totality. All text production takes place in the presence of other texts. Now, it is the fact of intertextuality that allows the text to come into being. So, all the texts are related to one another. Roland Barthes. Every text is essentially quoting from other texts. Not purely original, no text is purely original. The text is a tissue of citations. Writing is always iteration, a rewriting that foregrounds the traces of various texts knowingly or unknowingly. And text is constituted only in the moment of his reading. Thus, the reader's own previous readings, his experiences and position within the cultural formation also form crucial in the text. Now, the concept of intertextuality blurs the concept of a book. The concept of intertextuality disperses the image of book as a totality into an unbounded, inimitable tissue of connections and associations, paraphrases and fragments, texts and cortex. A book, it is not a totality. It is a collection of all these paraphrases, fragments, texts, cortex, etc. Let us see some of the examples of intertextuality. A famous example of intertextuality in literature is James Joyce's Ulysses. It is a retelling of the Odyssey, which is set in Dublin. Now, James Joyce's Ulysses was a deliberate retelling of Homer's Odyssey, but transplanted out of ancient Greece into modern day Dublin. The various characters in James Joyce's novel correspond to the adventures of Odysseus in Homer's epic poem. For Joyce, the point of this deliberate intertextuality was to show that ordinary people can experience something heroic in their everyday lives. So, one of the important examples of intertextuality that we can quote is Ulysses by James Joyce. Now, there is Ernest Hemingway, who used the language of the metaphysical poet John Donne in naming his novel For Whom the Bell Tolls. So, that is another example of intertextuality. Now, even the Bible is considered as an instance of intertextuality, since the New Testament quotes passages profusely from the Old Testament. These are some of the examples of intertextuality. What are the different types of intertextuality? There is the first type of intertextuality called deliberate intertextuality. Here, intertextuality is the result of an author's choice. When an author draws on the works of Shakespeare for inspiration, it is a deliberate choice by the author. Now, this brings about a relationship between the original text and the new text. Now, that is deliberate intertextuality. So, first type is deliberate intertextuality. The second one is known as latent intertextuality. In latent intertextuality, the author is not deliberately employing intertextuality, not deliberately doing it. Everything you have ever seen or read sticks somewhere in your memory, and it will affect your understanding of the world. They all contribute to building your specific worldview, which in turn determine how you write or create, etc. This is latent, not deliberately done. So, deliberate intertextuality, latent intertextuality. Now, according to Gerard Genett, who published his famous work Palimpsests in 1982, intertextuality involves all relations of a text with other texts. He divides intertextuality into three large categories. Okay, how does he divide? The first type that he says is explicit or implicit intertextuality. Now, in this category, there is an explicit presence of one text in another, explicit. The second text's author does not intend to hide the text, his text references. Now, the presence of other text in the text can be clearly observed. Now, quotation is an example of this particular or explicit intertextuality, quotation. The second category of intertextuality which Gerard Jenner talks about is the covert or overt intertextuality. The covert intertextuality indicates the hidden presence of a text in another text, hidden presence. Now, this type of intertextuality, covert intertextuality, tries to hide the presence of intertextuality references. Now, plagiarism is an example. It is a use of another text without permission or mention of references. So, another category, covert or overt intertextuality. The third category of intertextuality that Gerard Jenner mentions is the hidden or open intertextuality. Now, here the second author does not hide the intertextual but uses signs. He uses signs by which we can recognize intertextual and even its references. So, signs are used here. Now, this is explicitly done by the second author. Allusions, allegories, metaphors are examples of this particular category. Now, what is the importance of intertextuality? Intertextuality shows how much a culture can influence its authors, even as the authors in turn influence the culture. So, there is a reciprocal influence of culture and the author. When you create a work of art, literature or scholarship, you are inevitably influenced by everything that you have seen, everything you have read up to the last point. So, the culture influences the author. Secondly, authors from different cultures and historical periods can influence each other. This is also another important aspect we must remember. So, intertextuality should be studied because it influences the author. Culture influences author. Other cultures also influence the authors. So, what is intertextuality? Intertextuality is not a literary device but a fact about literary texts. The fact that texts are all intimately connected. This applies to all texts, novels, works of philosophy, newspaper articles, films, songs, paintings, etc. Every text is affected by all the texts that came before it, since those texts influence the author's thinking and aesthetic choices. So, every text is related to each other. Intertextuality. So, my dear students, this is another concept that we learn in postmodern literature, intertextuality. Every text influences every other text. The author's writings, texts are influenced by other authors, quotes from other texts, the cultural background, all that he has read and seen and experienced are influencing the works of a particular author. So, everything is related. This applies to not only novels or poetry, even non-written media like the digital media also is influenced by intertextuality. So, this is one concept that we can learn in postmodernism. Thank you for your patient listening. Have a nice time. Stay safe. See you soon with another concept of postmodernism. Thank you.